Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhar Srimad Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are going to continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7. Today we start with text 18. Does anyone remember the main point of from yesterday?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Narad Muni had delivered his instructions to Prahlāda Maharaj when he was in his mother's womb and to his mother. So Prahlāda Maharaj got the instructions and he followed, whereas his mother was still like not really, right? Getting the instructions.
Yeah.
But Bhagavad Dharma is spiritual religion, that is to understand God, know his relationship with God. Whereas Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha is material religion. So Krishna says that when one is situated in devotional service, bhakti, and with the mercy of the Guru and Krishna, one can acquire the intelligence, something else. Not sure. Was it
Yeah. So that one
right?
one who has faith, implicit faith
Faith.
in
Yeah.
words of
So one must have
Guru
full
and
faith.
Krishna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
full faith in Guru and Krishna, the words of the spiritual master, and similar faith in Krishna. So one must have
Yeah.
full faith.
Yeah. And then one will be able to realize this knowledge that we are, that that is being given.
Oh,
The
so
transcendental
he'll get the
knowledge that is being
intelligence,
given.
right? The transcend knowledge, and he gets the intelligence, right?
Intelligence and the realization. He'll be able to
Realization.
understand the knowledge.
Okay, okay.
He'll be able to understand the knowledge. It will be revealed to him. He'll be able to realize whatever he's hearing.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So then we'll go on. Janmadya Shad Ime Bhava
Janmadya sat ime bhava
Drishta Dehasya Natmana
drishta dehasya natmana
Phala Nam Iva Vrikshasya
Phalanam iva vrikshasya
Kaleneshvara Murtina.
kaleneshwaramurtina.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Just as the fruits and flowers of a tree in due course of time undergo 6 changes: birth, existence, growth, transformation, dwindling, and death, and then death, the material body, which is obtained by the spirit soul under different circumstances, undergoes similar changes. However, there are no such changes for the spirit soul. This is a very important verse in understanding the difference between the spiritual soul and the material body. The soul is eternal, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.20. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin, nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuya. Ajo nitya shasvato yam purano, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. So here Prahlāda Maharaj, he's saying that the body, like we see fruits and flowers, we can see it. We see the flower is just a bud, then the bud keeps opens, begins to open, becomes fully bloomed flower. After fully bloomed, then it starts, dwindling till it just vanishes then. The fruits are also like that. So even our body is like that. Our body, we are born, we have baby body, then we have baby body, and then we have child, then we become teenager, adult, and then we may have our own children. Then comes middle age, dwindling. Then one day it vanishes. But the soul doesn't go through all this. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying the soul is eternal, never born, never dies. And the soul is ever existing. It's not that right now I'm existing and after I get liberated, I will not exist anymore. No, the soul is eternal. That's the meaning of eternal. Always will exist, ever existing, undying, never gonna die, premovable. So the body will die, but the soul is eternal. The spirit soul is eternal, being freed from waste and change which take place because of the material body. Material body gets wasted. We can see it dwindling. Then one day it's just gonna cease to exist. The example of a tree and its fruits and flowers is very simple and clear. A tree stands for many, many years, but with the seasonal changes, its fruits and flowers undergo 6 transformations. The foolish theory of modern chemists that life can be produced by chemical interactions cannot be accepted as true. The birth of a human being's material body takes place due to a mixture of the ovum and semen. But the history of birth is that although the ovum and semen mix together after sex, there's not always pregnancy. Unless the soul enters the mixture, there's no possibility of pregnancy. But when the soul takes shelter of the mixture, the body takes birth, excess, grows, transforms, and dwindles. And ultimately, it is vanquished. So here, we are trying to understand. Somebody may say that, oh, there's only chemical mixture. Chemical mixture, mix the egg with the semen, and then that's how a child is born. But need the soul. Only when the soul enters, then the child will be able to, there will be a child. Otherwise, there won't be any child. The fruits and flowers of a tree seasonally come and go, but the tree continues to stand. Similarly, the transmigrating soul accepts various bodies which undergo 6 transformations, but the soul remains permanently the same. Ajo nitya shasvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. So the example is given, the tree stands and the fruits and flowers come and go, they are born, they fully bloom, and then they start rotting and then they die, but the tree always is there. So similarly, the soul is always there. The body is undergoing these 6 changes. We can see, where is our child body? We do remember our memories, we will have our memories, but where is that body gone? It's not there. So the body is changing. So the soul is eternal and ever existing, but the bodies accepted by the soul are changing. This is what Prahlāda Maharaj is trying to explain us. The soul is eternal, the changes are with the body. There are 2 kinds of soul, the supreme soul, the personality of Godhead, and the individual soul, the living entity. As various bodily changes take place in the individual soul, different millenniums of creation take place in the supreme soul. So, okay. So as the soul is inside the body and the body is going through the 6 changes, right? The soul is there, that's why the body is developing. As soon as the soul leaves the body is dead, will not develop. It's not going to grow anymore. Similarly, it's because the Supreme Soul is there in this creation. And that's the reason all this activity is taking place. The changing of the Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar, Kali Yug, all these different changes are taking place because the Supreme Soul has entered the universe. So just as the changes of the body are taking place because the individual soul uh, has entered the body, the changes in the creation are taking place because the Paramatma is there in every atom of the universe. If there was no Paramatma, then the creation would also not have any changes. Just as the body appears to be living, but actually it's because of the presence of the soul, right? So similarly, the universe appears to be living, but that's because of the presence of the Supreme Soul, the Paramatma. Is that okay?
Yeah, so same way, right? The body also will not be able to grow or transform if the Paramatma is not there. Only if
Yes,
the soul is there, the individual soul, but still it cannot. It needs the Paramatma, right? The Supreme Soul.
yes, 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 yes. Needs the Paramatma. Yeah. Okay. So in this regard, Madhvacharya says, Shad vikara sharirasya na vishnu tadgatasya cha tad adhinam shariram cha gyatva tan mamatam tyaje. Since the body is the external feature of the soul is not dependent on the body. Rather, the body is dependent on the soul. One who understands this truth should not be very much anxious about the maintenance of his body. There is no possibility of maintaining the body permanently or eternally. So Madhvacharya is saying that the body is dependent on the soul. Not the soul is not dependent on the body. It's because the soul is inside the body that we can experience the body's changes. What we are thinking, I'm the body. We are thinking, I'm this body. We've forgotten that I'm the soul. So, and we can't maintain this body permanently. No matter how much we love the body or how much ever we are attached to the body, we can't be in the body uh, permanently. We can see how it's dwindling, that how when there was a prime time, the body was young, healthy, youthful, and then how gradually we can see the changes that it is dwindling and that it's not going to last forever. Like a car. You have a brand new car, runs very nice, very good. But after some years, again, more maintenance is needed, or this part needs repair, that part needs repair. So same as with the body. Antamanta ime deha nitya shokta sharirina. This is the statement of Bhagavad Gita 2:18. The material body is antavat, perishable, but the soul within the body is eternal. Nitya sokta sharirina. Lord Vishnu and the individual souls who are part and parcel of him are both eternal. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam. Lord Vishnu is the chief living being, whereas the individual living entities are parts of Lord Vishnu. All the various grades of body, from the gigantic universal body to the small body of an ant, are perishable. But the super soul and the soul, being equal in quality, both exist eternally. This is further explained in the next verses. So this gigantic universe also appears living because of the presence of Supreme Soul. This is also temporary, stays for some time. It's also going to vanish at one point of time. But the Supreme Soul and the individual soul both continue to exist eternal. Okay. So Prabhupada is saying the next verse is explains it further. So let's read the next verse. Atma nityo vyaya shuddha
Atma
Atmanityo avyaya shuddha
eka kshetragya ashraya
ekashetragya ashraya
avikriya swadrig hetur
avikriya swadhetu
itu
vyapako sangi anavrita
vyapako sangi anavrita
eter dvadasha bhir vidman
ete dvadash vidvan
atmano lakshane pare
atmano lakshane pare
aham mameti asadbhavam
aham meneti asadbhavam
dehadav mohajam tyajet
dehadam mohajam tyajet.
Atma refers to the Supreme Lord or the living entities. Both of them are spiritual, free from birth and death, free from deterioration, and free from material contamination. They are individual, they are the knowers of the external body, and they are the foundation or shelter of everything. They are free from material change. They are self illuminated. They are the cause of all causes, and they are all pervading. They have nothing to do with the material body, and therefore they are always uncovered. With these transcendental qualities, one who is actually learned must give up the illusory conception of life in which one thinks, I am this material body, and everything in relationship with this body is mine. Prahlāda Maharaj is saying we have to give up this illusion, aham mameti. I am the body, everything in relation with the body is mine, because we are spirit soul. In Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Lord Krishna clearly says, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta. All the living entities are part of me. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling us what is our relationship with him. He's saying all individual souls are my eternal part and parcel. Eternally. Right now they're in the body, but they are my part and parcel. Therefore, the living entities are qualitatively the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the leader, the supreme among all the living entities. So quality is the same since we are part and parcel of God. We have same qualities, but minute in quantity. In the Vedas, it is said, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. The Lord is the chief individual living entity, the leader of the subordinate living entities. So, this is the Katha says that there are so many eternal souls. Out of all the eternal souls, there is one eternal soul that is maintaining all the other eternal souls. So God, He is maintaining all of us. So because the living entities are parts or samples of God, their qualities are not different from those of the Supreme Lord. The living entities have the same qualities as the Lord, just as a drop of seawater is composed of the same chemicals as the great sea itself. Thus, there is oneness in quality, but a difference in quantity. So one drop of seawater has salt. The entire ocean, the entire sea has salt. But the quantity is completely different. One drop of seawater, how much salt can it hold? And the full sea, wow, it can have such great quantity of salt. So then one may say, oh yeah, you see, but when you put the drop of water into the sea, then the drop doesn't exist. Then it becomes the sea. It just mixes with the sea. There's no difference between the drop and the entire sea then. So that is how the relationship of the soul is. When the soul mixes with the Supreme Soul, then the soul becomes the Supreme Soul. So how do you understand that? How do you explain that? Because one may say, oh, well, drop of seawater, when it's mixing with the full sea, you can't see it anymore. It doesn't exist. So that's what happens to the soul also. What do you think? Is that what happens to the soul?
Like what we know, yeah, like in quantity, it's not the same, right? But in the quality, it is. I mean, it will taste the same, the salt water, right?
Yeah, yeah. But what I'm saying is somebody may give the argument that, oh,
Uh-huh.
you take the drop of seawater, you take this drop
Hmm.
and you put it back in the sea. Then this drop doesn't
Makes
exist
sense.
anymore. It's become the sea now. Now this drop has become the full ocean. So one may argue that quantity also is the same as of the soul and super soul.
Hmm. Hmm. Let me see.
So how we can explain that quantity is different? So how we can explain is that we cannot compare because water is not conscious, is a dead material element. Whereas we, the soul, we are conscious.
Okay.
So this drop of water, when it's entering the sea, yes, you cannot see the difference between water and the drop and the sea anymore. But we, the individual souls, we are conscious living beings. We are individual and we are eternally individual. We are spiritual, not material. We cannot compare a drop of water with a soul. Like you have to compare apple with apple. Cannot compare apple and orange. I mean, are you understanding what I'm trying to say? Because many people
Yes,
say,
yes.
oh, you
Yeah, yeah.
merge, then you don't exist
Yes.
anymore
Correct,
because
correct.
you
Yeah.
merge into the water. So the drop doesn't exist. So they may say the
Correct.
soul is merging into the super soul, so it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
But we are conscious beings. A drop of water is not conscious. That's how we explain then.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Right. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by understanding the sample, the living entity, because all the qualities of God exist in a minute quantity in the living entities. So all the qualities are, we have these qualities because they exist in God. We cannot have something that He doesn't have, you know. All the qualities that we see, they are originally coming from God, but they are in the pure form. They are not in the perverted form, they are in the pure form. So there is oneness, but God is great, whereas the living entities are extremely small. Anor Aniyan, Mahato Mahiyan, Katha Upanishad 1-20. The living entities are smaller than the atom, but God is greater than the greatest. Our conception of greatness may be represented by the sky, because we think of the sky as being unlimitedly big, but God is bigger than the sky. Similarly, we have knowledge that the living entities are smaller than atoms, being 1/10,000 the size of the tip of a hair. Yet the quality of being the supreme cause of all causes exists in the living entity as well as in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we are tiny, smaller than atoms, 1/10,000 the tip of a hair. Whereas God, He's unlimited. That's the difference. He's unlimited. We think that this, how big can you be? Maybe as big as the sky. We can see the sky is all pervading, right? Wherever we go, we can see the sky. So we may think the sky is greater, the greatest, but God is even greater than the sky. Whereas we are tiny. Indeed, it is due to the presence of the living entity that the body exists and bodily changes take place. Similarly, it is because the Supreme Lord is within this universe that the changes dictated by the material laws occur. The word eka, meaning individual, is significant. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 9.4, Matsthani Sarvabhutani, Na Chaham Teshva Avasthita. Everything, material and spiritual, including earth, water, air, fire, sky, and the living entities, exists on the platform of spirit soul. Although everything is an emanation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not think that the Supreme Lord is dependent upon anything else. So everything is coming from God. God has created everything. So everything and everyone is dependent on God. Not that God is dependent on these things. He doesn't need it. He has created them. His existence does not depend on the existence of earth, water, air, fire, ether. No. The existence of earth, water, air, fire, ether depends on the existence of God. This is what we are trying to understand. Okay. So the Supreme Lord is not dependent on anything. Both God and the living entity are fully conscious. As living entities, we are conscious of our bodily existence. Similarly, the Lord is conscious of the gigantic cosmic manifestation. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Yasmin dhyayo prithivi chantariksham vigyanartham vigyataram adhikena vijaniya ekam evad vittiyam atma jyoti samrat iho vacha sa iman lokan asrajata satyam jnanam anantam asango hi ayam purusha purnasya purnam adaya purnam eva vashishyate. All these Vedic injunctions prove that both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the minute soul are individual. One is great and the other is small, but both of them are the cause of all causes, the corporally limited and the universally unlimited. So Prabhupada here is giving a lot of evidence from the Vedas to show that we are individual souls and the Supreme Lord, He is a supreme individual soul. We are minutely individual. And the Supreme Lord, He is the greatest individual. We should always remember that although we are equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in quality, we are never equal to Him in quantity. Persons with a small fund of intelligence finding themselves equal in quality with God foolishly think that they are equal in quantity also. The intelligence is called avishuddha buddhaya, unpolished or contaminated intelligence. When such persons, after endeavoring hard for many, many lives to understand the supreme cause, are finally in actual knowledge of Krishna, Vasudeva, they surrender unto him. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that one who's taking the path of knowledge, the jnani, after many, many births and deaths, after so many births and deaths of doing research work, one will come to understand that Krishna is God. So it's our choice. We want to accept Krishna as God right away, or we want to take many, many births and deaths to accept Krishna as God. We can right away accept Krishna's proposal in Bhagavad Gita that surrender unto me. Or we may say, no, I'm still going to do research work. And even after we do research work, after after a very long time, we will still come to understand that Krishna is God, because that's the fact. It's the absolute truth. We can't hide the absolute truth, or we can't change the absolute truth. Thus, they become great Mahatmas, perfect souls. So, one who surrenders to Krishna is a Mahatma, and such a great soul is very rare. Very rare to find a soul surrendered to Krishna. If one is fortunate enough to understand his relationship with God, knowing that God is great Vibhu, whereas the living entity is small Anu, he is perfect in knowledge. So we are Anu, God is Vibhu, and we have to understand this knowledge. This is perfect knowledge. Our relationship is that we are part and parcel of God. The individual exists in darkness when he thinks that he is the material body and that everything in relationship with the body, material body, belongs to him. This is called aham mama, janasya moho yam aham mameti. This is illusion. One must give up his illusory conception and thus become fully aware of everything. So right now we are thinking I'm the body. Everything that is in relation to the body is mine, my house, my family, my community, my society, my whatever, and that I am this body. And we have completely forgotten, oh, I am actually a spirit soul. I'm part and parcel of God. I have an eternal relationship with God. And when we can actually understand that, then that is the perfection of knowledge. Is that okay?
Yes.
Comments? So Prahlāda Maharaj is telling us to come on the spiritual platform. He's telling us, come on the spiritual platform. Don't think you're the body. You
Brahman, right?
understand you're
Brahman
not the
platform.
body, you're the soul. I'm sorry?
That's called the Brahman, right? Platform.
Brahman, yes. Come to the Brahman platform. Yes. So he's urging us to come to this Brahman platform, spiritual platform. So if no other comments, then we'll stop here.
So this is the absolute truth, right?
Absolute truth, yeah. That Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Yeah,
Supreme
is
Lord,
part and parcel.
we are just a living entity. We are small, Anu. That's a perfect knowledge.
Yeah.
That we are part and parcel.
We are part and parcel. Yeah. And what we are thinking?
We think that we are the body, material body.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where all our problems start. You know, all our problems are because we think we are the body. And then because we think we are the body, we're always trying to find solution that how can we be
Yeah.
comfortable in the body? Those are the solution we find. So actually all the material problems, the solution is spiritual. There's no material solution to material problems. Spiritual solution. Why? Because we are spirit soul, we are not the body. We may try to have some temporary fix for material problem, temporary band-aid, but it comes on even bigger, comes to us as even bigger things. You see, transport, before that, there used to be like horse carriages, bullock carts, or before that had to walk. Now we have motor cars, which gives us so much pollution. So we try to create some solution, but it in fact gives us bigger and bigger problems. And
What
all
do we
else
do
because
when the material body is going through like sickness? It's not keeping well. What do we do?
Yeah, it's
We need
true.
to take care, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have to. That we have to maintain the body because we have to understand that we have to continue to engage in devotional service. So we have to take care of the body. That we can't be neglectful. Krishna is not telling us to be neglectful. But what may happen is that because we fall sick, then we may get so entirely hopeless and oh my God, I'm sick, and we can become like, so fearful and so like think that that's the end of the world.
Yeah.
But instead, what we just need to do is, yes, okay, the body is sick, body needs some maintenance. Yes, I have to do some maintenance for it so that I can use it to engage in devotional
Basically,
service.
so
And
much time goes, sometimes when the body is sick and you have to maintain it, like you have to go through, then you find that there's a time, to engage. No, like you have
yes.
to the doctor, this doctor, that doctor, oh right or no? I don't know. See, like with mommy, there's no ending, there's always one doctor,
Uh,
another doctor, then doctor, then there's a time
yeah,
thing.
so
But we have
true.
to take that time. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, it needs so much maintenance, right?
So
This
much
body.
maintenance, Though we know
Yeah,
that we are not the body, but what do we do when we're sick?
yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's the material world. This is the material world. So, yeah, we just do what we need to and then keep reminding ourselves, oh, I'm not the body, I'm the soul. Not easy, very difficult. We keep forgetting it. Only when we are reading or hearing that time we remember. After that, we forget.
Yeah.
You know, we forget when we are engrossed in our daily activities, we forget.
Yeah.
So then that's the reason we have to constantly hear, like hear as much as we can, chant as much as we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, what to do. Yeah. Sure. Right. So we'll stop here for today.
Yes.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.